someone be, okay, so today what I want to go over is basically first want to hear from you guys how we are doing or how each and everyone is doing so far. Is there any feedback, positive or negative, you guys want to give? And are there any problems you guys are facing, and is there a way we can help you guys better to solve those problems? And secondly, after we do this update, we will go over a project management software which is called Jira. It's a free software for up to 10 users, and we want to use that because that's the software which is used everywhere, almost everywhere. It's a standard these days everywhere in all the top organizations. So Hamza, go ahead and give us your feedback, how you're doing.
So far I've been working on getting the page started. I've gotten a little bit done for the member page and setting up a little bit of the top dash. Do you want me to like share it or just talk?
Go ahead, share whatever you have so far.
It's not too much yet, but so far I've gotten this worked out. Right now what I'm trying to figure out is how to make the filter area of it into an actual block area on the side of the screen, on the side of the table, and figuring out why my image is not working. But I have the icon, I have the table set up, the add member. I added the my account tab in here as well, but so far it's not really operational. I was trying to play around and get the tab part working on it, but I couldn't really do that quite yet. But yeah, so far this is all I've gotten done.
So are there any challenges which you have faced or which you couldn't solve yourself or get help, or what is it you're doing?
Yeah, so one of the things that I was struggling on, I was working on it for a couple hours yesterday and the day before, was trying to get this tab part working. So in the code I wrote for this, it's there's 3 tabs. There's supposed to be 3 tabs, but I couldn't get that part working. I was searching up online and stuff how to figure it out. It was a little bit troubling, but I think if I put in a little more time, I'll eventually figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Though, yeah, it would probably be easier if I should probably like message in the group or something when I run into these problems. Another thing is trying to get this. I don't actually know how to get something to be on the same line per se.
Right.
So how to make 2 blocks, because I was working, if I show you my code, and like I've been testing out with this is the code for the table right here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was trying to do a div within a div.
Yeah.
To try and get the blocks, so like right here, to try and get the filter part to be on the right side of it, which wasn't working. It could be a spacing issue, I'm not entirely sure.
No, it isn't a spacing issue. I think so you could expand your screen more, or maybe shorten your font to make it maybe visible, but I don't think it's a spacing issue. It's a styling issue, which
Okay.
yeah. So we will probably, once we get there, I think we'll try to cover some of these. It's called a flex box, which automatically changes from 2 columns to 1 column to 3 column, depending on the size of the screen. So, I mean, those things are certainly possible. And I think React has a different way of doing it. So we'll have to look into how the React JS does it.
Okay, yeah. And then other than that, I've been messing around with a little bit of the CSS stuff as well for the things as well. I really put much on
Yeah,
it.
that's how it is done. The CSS, like I said, the styling is what CSS is. So people who are not familiar, CSS is a style sheet thing. So style sheet is how the content. So in the older times, I would say that you have a HTML and you have a CSS. HTML is all your content, and CSS is your styling, how it looks like on the page. So that those things are separate. So I mean, like in this example, you are showing add button. So this is your item ID, and so this is your class, not item ID. Item ID is generally put with the hash, and then you put the, and if it's a class name, then you use the .admin. But I don't want to, I think, discuss this right now. There will be time for this. Okay. So, so you are going on your own, not really concerned about how we are making the progress, right? You're still doing something whenever you find time. Is that how it is?
Yeah, so far I've just been working when I can.
And you were able to finish the Git activity which we wanted to do.
Right. Yep.
And are you changing your code using your own fork, or you're changing inside the main?
Currently, I'm using my own fork. I haven't pushed anything for ever since I created this, actually. So I haven't pushed anything. Yeah, I was planning on pushing it maybe after the meeting today or something.
Okay, sounds good. Perfect. Yeah. Okay, good. So who's next? Afif.
All right, yeah, so let me share my progress. I think you should be able to see it right here. There you go. Let me open up the code first. So what I did so far was I was working on the run reports. I wasn't able to work on it a little bit too much. First of all, I had to switch from Mac to Windows to my personal PC from my family Mac, So I had to kind of get used to it, open up everything, download like Node, all of that type of stuff. I was able to do the fork request, so I am pushing to my fork. This one I haven't, but I was able to add some lines to the README. Just like we showed in the design, I took away from the nav bar the printout and export and turned that into run reports. Okay. And this is the format reports. I haven't worked on the CSS much, but I've basically just created 3 fields where there's the title, the purpose, and then you can print a PDF and export to CSV. And both work when you make a change. I've opened the console, you can see edits and it saves in the server side as well. And so like if, for example, if say test and the purpose is this is a test and you want to print a PDF, you open up the PDF, you're going to see that the titles have changed. So I haven't pushed anything yet, but I will push it after this meeting. I just wanted to like show it off first.
Okay.
And the CSV also works, just to show that off really quick.
Okay. So any feedback you have, Afif?
Yeah, I was able to figure out how to use like the commands in the terminal and all of that. It was a little bit new for me, but I was able to figure it out after a while of like testing around. So yeah, you can see the CSV. Other than that, I'm sort of getting used to the syntax, but it's not like too bad, especially with the React docs and all of that other stuff. So I think overall, I'm not struggling on anything at the point. I'll be working on like trying to fix the dates, add more fields, filters, and checkboxes like we've discussed in a meeting during the week.
Okay, perfect. All right, so who's next? Hisham.
Yeah, so for me, I had only 2 calls with Hamza. He did most of the work. I didn't really, we agreed that we, each one of us will go and play with code and try to make the member page. I didn't really do anything on it. I did push create the pull request. And then I was not familiar a lot with the Git command. So I just did one of quick training on Git. And then I'm currently doing one React.js on Codecademy, but I didn't know much on the project really. Okay. I'm struggling with the syntax, so that's why I'm doing the Codecademy training.
Okay. And but I think we should use WhatsApp also for our questions. I think we should post questions, and I think some of you might be struggling on the same thing, and if one of them is able to resolve something, it probably will help the other member also. So it's maybe good to use our WhatsApp form a little bit more and ask questions there so that we can all benefit, right?
Yeah, and I have a question. Maybe others have it. Like when I was speaking to Hamza, we didn't really know, at least let me speak about myself, where to start. Like, shall I start just putting the code? Like usually a developer, like I start putting the code, let's assume I'm struggling with the syntax. Mm-hmm. Do I stop and go and search for something, or I have to go and take a quick training? Like let's assume the JSX format, right?
Yes.
Shall I go and take a training quickly, or I just go and search and try to figure it step by step? I was struggling with that.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that's a fair point. I think most of the times training actually takes much longer to get that answer.
Yeah.
You should, the right approach these days is that search on the internet. I think to ask, I mean, the most important thing today in development is how to frame your question. So if you frame the question right, there is 100% chance that you will find the answer somewhere. So basically that also comes with experience. Most developers, even in very I mean high level developers, they also don't remember the syntax or how something can be done. If you ask me, a lot of things I don't know, because I also have just figured out that I think the most important thing these days for the developers is how they write the query in the Google, that what is it you're looking for. If you are stuck somewhere, you have to be able to ask the question in a way that you find the answer. Because most of the times, if you are searching for something and if the search string which you are sending to the Google is not right or it's not accurate, you won't find the answer. But if you frame the question correctly, I think I would say I said earlier said 100%, but I think maybe 99.9% you will get the answer. So I would say my suggestion would be not to take the training, just go and search for the solution somewhere, and Stack Overflow or the other forums which are available. You can search there and you should find your answer most. And React is actually very popular as well as the Node. So
Okay.
there is always the solutions out there.
Okay.
Okay, so who's next? Wahaj?
Yeah, I haven't made much progress. I did have like one question, but I probably should ask it on the WhatsApp. I can leave that for later because you can move on to the list, but
Okay.
I do still have that question.
Did you ask that question today or it was earlier?
No, I should have asked it on the WhatsApp.
Oh, you should
Yeah.
have. Okay. Okay. So, and what is your feedback? Anything you want changed, or I mean, what is it? Is it going okay for you, or you are running into some problem or anything?
For now, it's okay. I think we're gonna get started on the code after this, right? After
Yes.
this, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Okay. Cool. Rafi.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as Hisham. I kind of didn't really make too much progress. I had some guests staying over at my place past few days, and I was a little preoccupied with some other work earlier this week, so I couldn't really do too much. I'm just kind of after doing the pull request, and before that I was just kind of doing the same thing, trying to learn React.js. But I'll probably, I think, like you said, I'll try to do the same thing. Maybe just jump in and start Googling whenever I can't figure out something.
Okay. 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 Sounds good. Urwa.
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum.
I'm still kind of catching up from the meeting last time that I missed. I'm working on getting through all of that. So I don't have too much progress. I would be able to WhatsApp you throughout the week with the progress that I make, because hopefully I will be completely caught up and hopefully a little ahead by our next meeting.
Okay. So like I said earlier, I'm always there to answer any questions if I know the answer. Otherwise, I will myself Google it and maybe search a string which may give the right answer. But it's better still to ask, I think. There's nothing harm. And it also keep us as a team also. That's the main goal, right? We work as a team. If you guys ask questions and we will try to figure out each one of them, can try and help, see if we can help each other. So that will make keep us going as well. Okay, so the next thing which we want to do today is Atharbhai will cover the Jira stuff, and the Jira is a very useful tool for the project management these days. And like I earlier said, that it's being used by almost everywhere in the top organization. There are some other tools also similar. I'm not saying this is the only tool which is being used. There is a Monday.com and there are some more. I think there is some Asana or some of these tools are out there. But this is one of the more popular, and this is also used in our organization in Oracle also. So that's one of the reason. And the second reason is that this tool is free to use up to 10 users. So we have kept our users up to 10. The new people who are coming in, we are not adding them into this this yet, as we already reached the limit of the 10 users. But in future, we may want to start another site for if we have another team to work on this. So go ahead, Atharbhai, it's all yours.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Looks like I have some kind of internet jitters coming in, but let's see. I may have to switch some connection in case if we stop. Let's start with our introduction to Jira. So Jira is used, as Naeem mentioned, is used in most of the organization. It is one of the most popular tools for project management, I can tell you. It has a few terminologies which we might want to get familiar with. Let me start sharing my screen. There we go. So there are a few things which we might want to get familiar with. They are used industry-wide, I could say. Let's jump on the first thing here. We have a project, and that project name is Masjid. And we have something called backlog, and we have something called a roadmap. So backlog is the list of action items we have to complete a project. And a roadmap is the forecast we might be having to complete this project. So we could, currently the forecast might look something very unfinished, because we haven't really planned out on when we are going to start what and how long is it going to take to complete that project. But there are something called epics. So epics, what we are, different people have, or different organizations have different ways of classifying what's epic and what are labels. But for now, let's agree upon a definition. Let's agree that epic is nothing but a bunch of stories. So stories are the actual items, action items, which we will be assigned with. And each story will have a definitive scope as to what is expected out of that story. So stories are played in a sprint. So a sprint can vary. For now, let's assume the duration of a sprint is 10 days or 2 weeks. So for now, what we are thinking is our sprint is going to start from tomorrow, which is 2nd August, and it's going to be for 14 up till 14th of August. So it's 2-week sprint, and we can have number of stories. So each of these action items. So our project was divided into number of features, and each of that feature was, let's say, each of those features, we call it epic. And under each epic, we have number of action items to complete. So for example, membership registration, and we call it MAS1. The epic ID is MAS1, and that pertains to membership registration. And under membership registration, we have these many stories. So each story will have a definitive scope, which can be coded, deployed, and validated independently. That's the ideal definition of it. It may vary sometimes based on use cases. So we are looking at one of the stories under that particular epic, and it says membership self-service page UI member. So more description on it could be added about what is expected, and we can also have something like acceptance criteria for that. What, as part of the story, when someone is there to validate it. So each of these stories will have a couple of fields associated with it. who is going to be validator for that particular story. It could be one of the mentors, or it could be one of the peers who is working alongside you. They might be validating such story, and who is going to develop it. And at that given time, who is it assigned to? So during development, it might be assigned to the developer. For validation, it might be valid. It might be um, assigned to a validator. So the whole idea of understanding this is definitely for project management, of course, but we also want us to understand how exactly is software development done in the industry. Now, let's see where we are now. Okay, we have roadmap and we have board. These are all Jira specific terms, you can say. So the name of the board is MAS board. So any action item which we have seen here, any of these action items from the backlog could be in one of these swim lanes at any given time. It could be in to do. So we can discuss and pull these action items in a specific sprint. So if we, based on the priority, for example, let's say if we want to be able to pick MAS 7, 8, 9, 10, and that happens to be the priority to be wrapped up in the following 10 days, we pull in those stories into this sprint. And that sprint is going to start from tomorrow. Developers will start coding such coding for such action item under that particular feature for a couple of days, and they will be able to commit those changes, and someone who is assigned as a validator might be able to validate such story and push it to done. So if we look at, where am I here? Okay, if this is backlog, let's look at the board here. So that, let me pull in a sample story. Let me see if we have a sample story somewhere. Landing page, test coverage, payment gateway. Okay, let me create a story here under one of the epics. So issues without epic. Okay, there are none. So let me create a quick story and demonstrate how it is going to work. Let's say this is so we call this an issue, and an issue could be of these many types. So it could be a task, it could be epic, it could be a story. So epic can include multiple stories. So a story can include multiple tasks. So let's create a story, and we can enter a description like this story is a critical one to achieve, say another story number MAS 7. And we can have acceptance criteria written here. So given we have form loaded, when user clicks on a button, then we expect something to pop up or any of that, anything of that sort. So once we are done with that, we could define who is going to be assigned to, who is going to be the developer on this, who is going to validate this. And then once we have, say, developer is going to be author, validator is going to be 9. We can attach more screenshots if required. So MAS 26 got created. Now I could pull in this story into the sprint. MAS sprint 1. So this story got in here. We haven't started a sprint, so I need to start a sprint probably. which will be, let me start this sprint. So we can define a sprint goal for what we want to achieve. And let's say if we start sprint, so this test story is going to appear here in to-do section. So once someone pulls in the story, they need to drag it here and it will be in progress. So all the time I'm going to code for the story. This particular ticket needs to be in progress. And once I'm done, I could switch the story to different swim lane, validation, PR review. Once I create a PR, the other day I was showing you how can we create a PR. And once we create the PR, we could push the story into the next swim lane. And this will get assigned to this. This should be assigned to manually by whoever is pushing that story to someone who needs to take a look at it. And they should get a notification about it, that the story has been pushed to and has been assigned to them. And once we assign it, the person who is supposed to look at it will look at it and make appropriate comments on whether he is satisfied, he or she is satisfied with the work completed, or they think that it needs to be updated for whatever reason. If they're satisfied, they could just move the story to done, and that's what marks as completion of that particular action item or an issue, completion of that issue. And once we have all this, so let me show you the roadmap. Once all the issue under such epic is completed, whole epic is considered to be done. So each epic is basically a feature for our software or application, where membership registration should have these many stories completed for membership registration module to be called as complete. So these stories will not be definite most of the time. The stories will get added as and when we think the requirement has changed or we discover new requirements. So this style of development of software is called agile, and to be specific, Scrum way of doing it, because agile again has multiple ways of doing it based on what we are trying to achieve. This is Scrum way of doing it in agile, where in today's world, software needs to be agile, and development has to be as well, because requirements change all the time, and we can't, unlike olden days, the requirements were collected even before the project started, and then you would have a big book of documentation, and then the implementation would take a couple of years, and testing would take a couple of months or maybe years. And then by the time the software was delivered, it used to be, the requirements were obsolete. So those things have changed now. The moment requirements come in, they get added to the backlog. And the following sprint, the developers pick it up, and whatever feature requests have come in will get delivered in probably 2 or 3 weeks. So that's the modern way of writing software nowadays. Yeah, if we have more questions, I'm open for it. If we think we are lost somewhere, we could revisit that place and start from there again. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I have a question. So when you created the story, you said the epic can have multiple stories, and stories can have multiple tasks, right?
Yeah.
But when you created this Mass 26, I didn't see an option that you added to an existing epic.
Yeah, I created it under, yeah.
Yeah, so the epic was selected already.
It was selected already. Okay.
So you could switch over. The epics could be switched over. I created it under what epic was it? I forgot the name of the epic. So there was an epic for landing page membership registration. So go. undefined epic or something. I saw that. Issues without epic.
Issues without.
Yeah. So I added it under issues without epic so that the scope of the epic is unchanged. Any of these epics. So yeah.
So, and other people would like to hear, because this is important, you guys understand this terminology which Atharvai went over, and I think there are too many things like epic, story, task, sprints. I mean, do you guys understand these important terms which he went over? Is everyone okay?
A sprint is basically a duration. I might have missed defining it. Sprint is a duration we define as a team, which we think would be an appropriate time to complete a given set of stories or a given set of action items, to be more generic.
So this is like Atharvai saying, this is a sprint is the time frame where you have to finish your task or the story, whichever you have put it in this swim lane, which we're talking about. So sprint consists of this swim lane where you have, once you start a story, you will put it in the to do in that sprint. And then when you start working on it, you put it in the progress. And from once you finish writing the code, it goes for the code review and validation. And if once that is done, then you call it done. And this is the modern style of working, because otherwise, like otherwise saying, it used to take us 2 years maybe to finish a project, and by the time we finish the project, it's already, the technology has already changed and people have moved into different. This model gives us the flexibility to change and adapt. As soon as the things are changing, we can adapt in our, and that's why it is called agile, because it changes as the requirements change. It's not a hard line we drawn that, okay, this is what we are building. This is the design which we spent 6 months to design it, and now a year and a half will spent on writing the code. By that time, things have changes very quickly, and these days things change much more quickly. So this agile methodology makes total sense. So
can I ask another question? So epic, can we define an epic like a folder? It's just organizing the stages, and then what going to the sprint is the actual stage.
Yeah, an epic need not be completed within a sprint. So within a sprint, we can complete couple of action items from each. It depends on what is the priority and what is the design like. Say if we want to, let's go to the backlog and let's look at the backlog for now. So if you get these stories, each of these stories belongs to an epic, right? We need not complete all the membership registration in one sprint. So one of the team members might be asked to pick mass 7, or they might be interested to pick a mass, and team member might be interested in picking up something from payment processing. Maybe their expertise, maybe it's their interest. It all depends. Or maybe that's a priority. Membership registration might be a lesser priority because of whatever reason. Based on the priority, we might pick a couple of stories from different epics and complete it within one sprint. Or maybe
can you add a task? Can you add a task to a sprint since it is under
sure
story?
You could, but we might not want to use task for now, because that is going to be more confusing.
Okay.
Let's restrict it ourselves to story and epic for now.
Okay.
Tasks are usually carried out for operational reasons. Like, for example, say before I start coding this particular feature, I need to clean up my database. So, or I need to repopulate my database. Those things are usually added as tasks. For now, we might not really use tasks. Instead, stick to a story and epics.
Okay.
I think I agree with you. I think if we want to get more granular, then I think like Atharvai saying that we will probably use tasks. And I think for now, let's stick with the story and the epics. And once we become more familiar with this terminology, I think we might want to introduce the task, because then the task you will probably have little things like cleaning up your database, setting up the environment, or writing the test coverage, and all those little things. Once we, but again, once we get familiar with that, then we'll probably get there. So for now, I totally agree that we should stick with these two epics and the stories.
Yeah.
I have a question on the so from my understanding right now, the stories are basically all the different features that we're going to be implementing into the project. So if that's the case, why do we need multiple epics? Because couldn't we just put all the stories inside one epic? Or
Yeah, yes and no to answer your question.
Yeah.
Let me take it up, and then if Naeem Bhai wants to add more, then he can go on. So story is basically an action item, an issue to be resolved as part of a bigger feature. Like membership registration could be a module in itself, right? And now what we are saying is membership self-service backend. The more description will be added to it. That small piece of work needs to be completed as part of that particular action item. MAS 8 requires us to just deliver that small piece of code, which would be responsible for doing that particular thing, but it is part of something bigger, and that something bigger is basically an epic. Membership self-service UI admin. So this could be a smaller task for bigger initiative like membership registration.
Yeah, otherwise, I think you explained it right. So Epic is like a feature, full feature, like we're saying, this membership registration, which is in itself is a separate project. Like, so that's a feature which we want to deliver. That we cannot deliver just membership self-service UI admin if the backend does not exist. So these are small parts of the same feature. The stories are small parts of same feature, but the feature itself can be delivered and it does not have to depend on anything else. So feature is like more like that. Otherwise, you're right. We could put all the stories in one epic and we are done. But that's not how the code organization work, and that's not how. Then it will become the same old style, like a system development lifecycle model, that we are designing the whole thing and we are setting the design, and then it takes years to develop it. So we want, once the feature is complete, we want it to be delivered and works totally independently of the other features or other epics which are in our Jira. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and then also just to clarify, the ones in purple right next to it where it's like payment processing, reporting, analytics, and all that, those are all different epics, right?
That's right.
That they're in it. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I also have a quick question. So I kind of got that. I understand that epics are kind of like you said, a full feature, and they're kind of like maybe not independent completely, but like they're separate features. The stories inside an epic, are they also kind of like independent modules of that feature, or can they rely on each other?
They might have dependency.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
They might be dependent on each other, but they can't be called. They can't be. We cannot consider like two stories within an epic. We cannot generalize saying they are independent or dependent. It again depends on context.
Yeah, and it also has the workflow aspect also, which means that a full feature will get checked in. So we can't check in the story per se, because the story, if you check in just, let's say, payment processing UI, and that has no functionality without the backend, if the backend is not present. So we want to make sure that we check in the code into the Git. It can certainly check in into your own forks for sure, but in order for it to get merged into the main repository, the whole feature has to be completed before we check it in. Otherwise, please correct me if I'm saying something which is not accurate.
Yeah, no, Naeem bhai, what I would suggest is when we are writing stories, we need to make it, break it in such a way that by just having that particular story in our code base, we might not want to break the existing system flow. And what you're saying is absolutely right, that without UI, or sorry, without backend, if we introduce UI, definitely there is a chance we might break the system. So that will be managed through the scheduling of such action items. Like, we do not deliver front end before delivering backend. So if there is a backend, front end is not present, it won't break the system. So backend will be there, it will not be accessed at any given time. Only after front end is introduced, it will start communicating with such backend. I think that has to be managed through scheduling of our action items.
Scheduling and the dependency stuff, right? Setting the
Dependency management. That's right. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, any other questions anyone has?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask our group, meaning Sister Urwa and I, we were supposed to do the run reports part, which is basically print out and export to CSV, print out to PDF, but I don't see any of those in the tasks right here.
I thought I did, but I mean that thing. Oh, so that is under reporting and analytics.
Oh, okay.
So if you look at the reporting and analytics, it should have a couple of stories I added, and it is. So the other question I have: are you guys able to log in into the system?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anyone who is not able to log in into this?
I'm not able to.
Hamza, you're not able to? And
No.
did you accept the invite which I sent?
I was just doing it right now, but it's saying I don't have access to the Jira.
Yeah, that's another thing we want to make sure that we correct it before we start assigning this. And Afif, I'll get back to you on your question. Let me just figure out first that if everyone is able to access Jira, and whoever is able to access, I think Brother Hisham, you are able to access. Can you share your screen? And I just want to see how your UI looks like.
Sure, I will share one second.
Oh, so you see everything, right? Whatever has been created, you see that. Is that correct?
Correct, yes. Yes, I can see, yes.
Okay, okay, perfect. So, okay. And Afif, are you able to see that also?
Yes, I am able to see the reporting and analytics, the entire Jira software part. But then part of that, yes, I know you're going to get back to my question later, but I don't, that's the payment information and those type of things. How about the export and the printout?
Yeah. So based on the discussion we had earlier week, where when you guys were presenting with the wireframes, so based on that, I see that the printing the member information and export to PDF or is just a report has to have those features. All our reports, that's what we discussed, right?
Right.
That any report which we are printing, it has to support filters. It has to support exporting to PDF and or exporting to a CSV. So this is just our standard. So basically what I was thinking was that your team will go over and create all those reports, including the member information and member who have made the payments and all that kind of queries will be your team doing it. And then the things might change also, because we see that some of the other members have a little bit maybe more work on in their hands. So we might switch over some of the stories based on once we start looking at how the workload is on everyone. Does that
right? And as the forms get updated, like there's more information added for like villages and things like that. Should we just put placeholders in our forms for now in the columns?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So Rafi, are you able to get into the Jira also?
Yes, I can see Jira just fine.
Okay, and what is this? Vahaj, you as well, right?
Yeah, I'm in Jira.
Okay, how about Urva? Are you able to get in? Or you have not looked at it yet?
I haven't gotten to that yet.
Okay, so yeah, we want to make sure that we all have this software set up, and I think today is our last day where we are talking about all this, because these were the foundation kind of things which we had to set up. There is one more thing left after this, which is more of kind of a foundation, where we want to maybe kind of go over some things like a jest, which is a JavaScript framework for testing, for the unit testing. So that is also one of the things which we want to go over maybe in the next meeting or in future. And one more thing I think we will probably go over along with the jest is the authentication. In our case, we are using Google authentication, but we want to go over what is it and why we need it and how that is set up in our application. So hopefully we can go over those topics maybe next week or the following week. But we also want to make sure that you guys able to access the Jira and see. I'm giving the opportunity for you guys for next maybe day or two to pick up the stories from there, and then maybe we can discuss in our forum on the WhatsApp that who is getting assigned what story. And like we already have separated out things. We already know that the payment processing, I think, is Rafa's team, and this reporting analytics is Afif and Urwa, and Hamza and Hisham are doing the membership. And then Subhan and Wahaj are probably will be doing the self-service and the landing page. We have pretty much defined this before, but I still want to give you guys an opportunity to look at these stories and see if this makes sense. We will also start adding the text to these stories maybe in a day or two. And then I want to make sure that we can assign these stories, hopefully, and then we can get to the coding, actual coding. Does this sound like a plan, or you guys have any questions on this? Okay, looks like you guys are all okay. Okay, so any other questions today before we end our meeting?
Just to have a question, a quick one. I did an update for my Mac, and it did break the project. Anyone did have the same thing? Like I have a Linux machine now, a Linux VM. I decided to have a Linux VM, and then I will use it for the project, so it doesn't get broken. But anyone did update for the latest Mac update and project still works? Because mine doesn't. I get an error when I try to run the project.
So yeah, so what is the error you're seeing? I think you should share it in the WhatsApp, or if you want to share it now, that's fine.
Yeah, let me.
So otherwise, while Hisham is sharing his screen, so when do we want to assign these? Because we want to start the sprint from tomorrow. So should we assign the stories now, or should we add more description to that and then assign it? What's your?
I think adding more description would be better, so that people have context on what they're working on, and what is the definition of complete for that particular action item.
Okay. Okay, so I will try to write from myself. So, but I also want Rafa, you, as well as Afif and others to write some details, what this project, what this story is. And if you guys have questions, you can ask me, and I can respond inside the WhatsApp, and or we can meet. I will try to write as much, because it's quite a bit. We have about 20 or something stories. So that would be a lot of work for me. So if you guys can help out adding that stuff in, and I will review with you guys if that is okay. Can you guys do that, Rafi and others?
Yeah, of course, no problem.
So
Curious.
you will probably focus on the payment side. Hamza, you will focus on the membership side. And if you have questions, you call me or text me or whatever, and I can help you guys. And Afif, you and Urwa probably do the reporting analytics. And Wahaj, you will do on the landing page. We have one of the epics on the landing. So add what you guys think should be needed to complete this, so that we can all help each other fix it. So looking at this screen, it's not very readable for me. Maybe my eyes are getting old. So let me see if I can put it on the other screen. Oh, I thought, Hamza, you or someone else ran into this issue. Oh, I think Afif, you were facing some issue like that. Is that? Afif, you are still here?
Yes, about this issue, I think we did npm run build and that sort of fixed it.
Mhm.
I might have to check exactly. Yeah, I think I had to like reopen the code because there was some sort of issue when I was opening it and Masjid got duplicated. So that was sort of my problem.
Okay.
Try try cloning your fork again and
No,
that'll
I
work.
did. I was like, I didn't troubleshoot it, spend a lot of time to troubleshoot it, but I thought maybe, do you have a Mac as well?
No, I've switched to Windows.
Okay. So this is particular for Mac.
So you were mentioning little while ago is that you are on Linux, not Mac. So is this?
No, what I did, because I tried to find out what is the issue, and I couldn't find the issue. So what I did, I had a Linux VM on my machine, and then I cloned the project on the Linux machine, and I installed Git and everything. So I will keep it as a development machine for myself, so it doesn't get broken if there is an update or something. So the project work on the Linux machine.
So this, on Linux machine it is working, but it's on the Mac it is broken. This is
Yeah, after I did the latest update, yes.
Yeah, that's strange.
Yeah.
Is it okay? Invalid hook call. Hooks can only be inside the body of a function. Yes. So yeah, this does not tell anything.
Yeah, that's why I tried to Google, and I went through a couple of them, but really didn't fix it. So I decided to have a Linux machine and clone the project on it, and I tested it and it works. So I said, let me continue this way until this gets fixed.
Did you run the yarn again?
Yeah, I deleted the whole folder and I downloaded again, and then I even went through the recording and then did all the steps again, and it didn't work. When I did the same steps on the Linux machine, everything worked.
I see.
So I just want to know if it's the issue is from what. So looks like it is my machine. But the only thing I did was running the latest Apple update. This is the only thing I did.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
that's
no,
the reason.
I think we'll have to Google it and see if there's might be something changed. But I have always my Mac up to date. I wonder I didn't hit any of these issues.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah, because this update was a couple of weeks, maybe a week ago or something. So I'm not sure if you are running the same version.
I see. Okay. Okay. All right. So let's meet next Saturday. But if you guys can update me, if you guys make edit the stuff in Jira, let me know, and then I'll review that and maybe work with you guys individually to see what's the description we want for each story and what will call the story be done. So we have to write that in the description that when this part, when we are able to do this, then we call it done. So we want to write that into each and every story. And like I said, we don't need to meet earlier. We can meet individually and we can discuss whatever is necessary. to write the description of each and every store. Okay, any other questions for me today? Okay, all right. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Jazakallah.
Sorry.
Oh,
Okay.